So then we have noise texture. Noise texture is, as you can hear from the name, about noise. We have two outputs, so we have the factor, which looks like this, a rather soft grayscale noise, and we have color that looks like this, so it's a desaturated but it's color. And the nice thing with this is not just that it is color, it's really like 3 different types of textures in the same way that I showed you before when it comes to magic texture, for instance. So I can show you something here by just separating color, so Shift A, converter, and separate color like this. That if I now use the red channel and I use the factor, you see no difference. But if I use the green here and use the factor, you see that they are different. The same with the blue and the factor, they are different. So factor out here is the same as the red channel out here, but the green and blue is not used if you're using the factor. So what you are doing if using only the factor is that you loses 2 textures that you can use for different purposes. So by using the color here, you can easier manipulate, or not easier, but you have more complexity and more flexibility when it comes to create different types of pattern, because you can add some math here between the red and green and blue channel to create new patterns out of this noise texture here. So it's really good to know that if you use the factor, then you only use the red channel, but if you use the color, then you can separate it and you can then pick different values out from red, green and blue and mix everything together to create even new noise that you can't get from the noise texture directly. So that is something that you should have in mind. Then if we go through everything here, it's the same as in Musgrave and many other textures that you have dimensions, where 1D is just grayscale if using factor, and it's a color out if you're using color out, but it's only like one value out. And normally you use 2D if using UV, and 3D if you have some depth, and if you want some seed in to make different types of noises, then you go to 4D, and then you can change this W here to get different values in your noise. And as with the other textures, more dimension means more render time. So if you're just using UV, then just select 2D as you can work with that one. Then we have the details, and that's the same as in Musgrave, that higher detail will then give higher detail also on our image. We can go to the factor here, and then you can easily see that if I have a low amount of detail, it's really like a blurry image like this. And if I go up, you can see it sharpens up a bit and gets more detailed. And this works together with the roughness. So with really low roughness and low detail, then everything is just blur. And with really high detail and really high roughness, then everything is almost pixelated, because it changes so much. You have so much detail in here right now. You can be so that, oh, then I just put the detail to the top and roughness to the top and I get everything I want. But the same goes for detail as for dimension, that if you work with a high detail, then it will also take longer render time. So be a little bit aware of that as well. Finally, we have the distortion, and the distortion is both good and bad depending on what you want to use it for. But what it does is that it tweaks the noise into circular patterns, and you can see that very clearly rather quick. So when I drag this, to be higher and higher, you can see that it also gets more and more distorted in these regular circular patterns. So for some things, I don't know, oil under the ground or something, or making marble perhaps, it will work really good. For other things, it will just be bad. But the really good thing with this is that it like drags out everything, so you have the same color in a long way here. And if you have it like that, that means also that you can create scratches that you filter out. So if you filter out this value here, it will go from this point all the way up here until it changes. So you get long, nice scratches using a higher distortion. While if I go down to a distortion of 0, you don't have any value that is the same for a long amount of time, so you can't get scratches. You more get like dents or bumps into your plane if you're using this for making old paint, so to say. So I can show you how that works by adding a map range here. So Shift A, and then I go to Converter, select map range and put that in here. And if I now change this to, let's say, I go down to something like this and change this to 1 and this to 0, you can see now that we have small amounts of, I don't know, loose paint or something like that. But if I now take up the detail, you get these small places where we have lost the paint that is on the wall if we use it like that as a filter here. And you can just drag it as you want to get the perfect, yeah, you can play with it as much as you want to get the result as you want. But what you can see is that it doesn't matter what you do here, it will not be scratches, not long, nice scratches in a way. So what you then do is that you just increase the distortion, and as soon as you increase that, you can see that these dots, so to say, will then warp into be really long, nice scratches instead. And then you can control here how much you want to see. So if you see too much, then of course it's not any scratches, but you can then just take it down and put it to something like this, and then you have these long, nice scratches here that you can control with the roughness, so it becomes these really nice looking scratches here. And if you want them to be even longer, then you can of course add a mapping vector into this. So press Shift A and then go to Vector and Mapping and put that UV here and the UV here, and then just change this scale here. And then of course they get longer, but they also get more straight line here. But that is perhaps something that you want in some cases. So then you can use this combination here with mapping and the noise texture and the map range to get these scratches here. Just be so that you think that when you do something like this, now I do it so I have white scratches and I have a black background, so that will be my mask. But if you just put that mask into your bump map, then you must remember that white, that is something that goes up, and black is something that goes down. So if you want the scratches to go down in the surface, which is normally what you want, then you should have it the other way around. So you should have it like this. It's just hard for me to show you this if I don't add a bump map, because now everything is white. But if I add a bump map, you can clearly see that it gets down now in a better way. So I can select shader here and a principled, and I can put in a bump by pressing Shift A, go to Vector and Bump, put the normal to the normal, and take the result to the height, and take away the base color here. And And now you see the scratches, and the scratches go right into this here. And if you really wanted to go in a nicer way, then you can change the linear here either to smooth step or to smoother step, which then means that the grayscale or the gradient between the dark and the white will be softer, and then you clearly will see that it really gets into the material. So if you want to build really good scratches, then the noise texture is a good way to do that. And together, as I said, with mapping, you can then make long scratches in different ways if you want to. There is, of course, a million other ways to do this. As I said before, remember to use the color, separate the color, then you can mix things together and make even better scratches than compared to what we have here out from the same noise texture. But this is the base, and this is how the noise texture works. So hopefully you now know how to use the noise texture to make something more believable when it comes to scratches and so on. And I will just see you in the next chapter where I go through the next texture. So I say bye for now.